guys really took a third period comeback against a really strong goaltender.
Yeah, especially after the penalties that we took and the kills we had. I haven't seen too many games where each team has 5-on-3 for over a minute, doesn't score. But give our penalty killers credit, and Brent did a great job. We had lost Trouba, so we were down one of our primary killers as well. Did a good job managing the personnel. And again, we got a shorthanded goal for a second night in a row. So obviously a lot of positive things with the special teams.
Any idea of Trouba's status?
No, I haven't even been in there, Andrew.
You mentioned Trouba going down early in the third. What did you make of the effort from the defensive core after he went out?
Oh, they were terrific. Obviously, 5 of them, and again, we handled I think a few more penalties after we went down. So did a great job.
Leo just again has been resurgent, the last month or so, and the crowning night for him. What have you seen especially in the last week of how he's playing with Killer and Cutter right now?
Well, I think it's been since the Four Nations tournament, he's come back and seems like he has more pace to his game. There's more explosiveness. I think he's, I've talked about this repeatedly about he needs to get to the inside of the ice, play in the inner third of the ice, and he's doing that. I mean, his goal, he just ripped through the middle and snapped it right from, whatever it was, 35 feet. And when he's not carrying the puck, he's driving inside ice as well, which is giving him puck recoveries in the offensive zone.
Those feel like those ripping shots that just weren't going in for him earlier in the year, and now he's really just getting those off, and they're kind of incredible how good that shot is, right?
Yeah, Pat and his staff did a lot of work scouting him when they drafted him, and I remember asking Pat about him: is he a playmaker? Is he a goal scorer? Pat said he can do both. He's got an elite shot, and weren't seeing that a lot early, and now we're starting to see it. And I think he's got a release that can be deceiving. I think he catches goalies off guard. So, I think he's obviously got a really bright future.
Going back to Cutter's debut and then the first quarter of the season, you had Leo and Cutter together a lot. Leo's a tough guy to read for defenders. It's not the easiest guy to play off of too, with all the layers to his game. Now that they're back together, what do you think is clicking there? Maybe a little bit better than when they split apart, I guess.
Well, Cutter's now developed an identity independent of who he's playing with, and that's really the challenge when you're coaching young kids, is they've got to try and be not dependent on their line mates, right, to generate offense. And he's got a natural ability to have breakaway speed, and he's got the shot. Okay, and there's a lot of things that have to be executed before he has those scoring chances. And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole with you guys, but he's learned to play both sides of the puck. When you do that, you're usually going to be on the good side of the puck on these puck battles, and you're going to have a flatter passing lane when you attack the blue line, and that's what he's doing, and he's going to the net. I think we're just scratching the surface with Cutter. His down-low game is still developing. He's a real natural athlete. I joke around with him at times, if he was a sprinter, he'd be a hell of a sprinter because he's got that fast twitch to him. I think right now, if you noticed, I was putting him with Mac T and Z at the end of the game just to get him more ice time, and he had an awesome shift with them too, so that shows me that he can drive any line now instead of just participate on it.
Mac T, I think this is his first winner of the year. Obviously a huge goal there. He's a guy who's come up with big goals in his career, World Juniors, all that kind of stuff. How big would it be for him to kind of develop that clutch gene a little bit more for you guys, I guess?
Well, I think he is. I mean, if you go back, I don't know what the game total's been, but he's had over a point a game, I think, or close to it over his last 20-some-odd games. And to his credit, I think he had that unbelievable scoring chance in the first period, and he passed it, to the far dot. And, we were just telling him after that, he's got a goal scorer's shot. Every puck that's on his stick in the slot should be directed at the net.
Zelic with 2 points tonight. What have you seen from him since he's gotten back in the lineup on a more regular basis?
He does what he does, and I said that before when he was going in and out. He adds an element to our team that we don't have. He's an explosive offensive player, and he gets up and down the ice. I mean, he scored the goal getting up the ice, but there was 2 other opportunities had similar rush attempts. One he shot it, and the other one he didn't get it. But the one thing I love about Zelic is he's fearless. He makes mistakes, and you coach him about the mistakes, and it doesn't affect him. The next shift, he's ready to go.
What do games like this do for this team's development going into the summer at this point of the year where things could just trail off, but they're finding ways to win like that?
No, I think we've made a commitment. I said this before, Christmas break, that we were going to play a certain way, and that we've challenged them to hold each other accountable to that standard. And I've always talked about the leadership has done a really good job. And tonight, Stromey's line wasn't really clicking, but they were good on the bench, and they were supporting the game when they're not doing well. And I talked to Frankie after the game when they're arguably our top line, right? So when your top line's not going, the young guys are playing really well. It just, to me, it's evidence that these young kids are figuring it out. They're seeing a standard they have to play to, and when the game does get a little bit wobbly, they go back to it. So that's what happened. It went wobbly in the second period, then we get back to it in the third, and they executed.
Colangelo didn't play the last half of the third period. Is he dinged up, or is that just a decision to?
No, because he's not killing penalties, right? So then there was a string of penalties. He's not killing them, and then Cutter doesn't kill. So then I have to make a decision on who's going to go. It's either going to be Sammy or Cutter, and I thought Cutter was jumping all games, so I went with him.